Hello Nigeria, thanks for joining us. This is Newsline and I am Becky Maduchemo. There's so much to celebrate in this edition of the program. You're bound to enjoy watching. The new yam is still being inaugurated by Nigerians across the world as a community goes philosophical with this age-long tradition. Then the second segment is where the wedding train will take off. Over 500 couples wedded. You will be blown away for sure. We also have reports that will broaden your knowledge on several topics like the hidden side to suicide and why hand washing must remain a habit for everyone. There's also new information about grey hairs that we will be sharing. Let's wait a while for these and more as we join Elizabeth Omori for the day's news. Happy Sunday, Lizzie.
Same here, Becky. It's nice to see you and welcome to the news segment of Newsline. Now let's begin with the ECOWAS summit. Member countries of the ECOWAS sub-region have been tasked to do whatsoever is necessary towards ensuring that terrorist groups are not allowed to destabilize the regional integration drive of the community and undermine public aspirations for a safe, secure and prosperous environment. President Muhammadu Buhari threw the challenge in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso during the extraordinary summit of the ECOWAS heads of government on counter-terrorism. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports on this major resolution of the summit.
The growing link between terrorism and organized crime as well as threats to peace and security in the sub-region informed this Ouagadougou summit by ECOWAS heads of state and government. The West African leaders are here to, amongst others, review different initiatives taken so far, redefine intervention areas and put in place a mechanism towards monitoring the implementation of the measures adopted towards ensuring lasting peace across member states. ECOWAS chairman and president of Niger, Muhammadu Isufu, and other stakeholders at the opening ceremony expressed worry that no day passes without a terrorist attack, kidnapping and other criminal acts in the Sahel and the Chad Basin with devastating consequences.
The United Nations will continue to lend support to the region in fighting terrorism in a comprehensive manner.
Addressing his counterparts in a closed session, President Muhammadu Buhari said Nigeria, as a major victim of the Boko Haram terrorist activities, remains resolute in her efforts towards combating and eradicating the criminal elements in all their forms and manifestations. The country, he however said, cannot do it alone, given the resilience of the terror groups and the ease with which they raise funds and acquire sophisticated weapons for their dastardly acts. The president therefore called for coordinated regional actions and responses against terrorists through greater willingness by member nations to share intelligence and resources, which he described as critical in achieving the desired safety, security and prosperity for the people. The Nigerian leader maintains that collective responsibility not to let up remains key in winning the fight against terrorism and stamping out the scourge from the sub-region. Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyama told NTA News that the counter-terrorism summit of the ECOWAS leaders was fruitful.
African countries want this to be the last meeting in which they will just meet to talk about terrorism, and that they decided they can no longer rely on the foreign partners. So they have 8 lists of priorities ranging from efforts by countries to address the issue of small weapons and light arms and sharing intelligence and border controls, providing weapons and so forth. So West African Monetary Union put forward 500 million towards the funding of the 8 priorities that will be rolled out from 2020 to 2022 with very concrete deliverables. And so this meeting agreed that ECOWAS should now also come up with 500 million US dollars, and that this will show the self-reliance of the ECOWAS member states in the fight against terrorism. So it's a defining summit meeting, really.
Some members of the Nigerian delegation to the summit applauded President Muhammadu Buhari for being passionate about matters relating to security, stability and future of Nigeria.
there is a determined effort to stamp out, terrorism. This is a front-burner project for President. He had to be here, and I'm glad that I also had the privilege of coming here with him.
If our President doesn't come for these conferences, dialogue with his colleagues from other countries, showing them the need to address security challenges within their borders, then I don't see what else he'll be doing. We have to try every means to ensure a safer Nigeria.
Fighting insurgency and terrorism is not in the lack of plan, but it is in the coordinated activity of countries and nations within the sub-region. It is a worthwhile exercise, and I thank God that our dear President was present.
President Muhammadu Buhari has since returned to Abuja. Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now to the 74th UN General Assembly. Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Professor Tijani Mohamed Bande, will assume office as the president of the 74th United Nations General Assembly. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, a Nigerian government team to be led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, is expected to attend the historic event scheduled to take place at the UN headquarters in New York on September 16 and 17, ahead of the high-level week of the UN General Assembly. Mohamed Bande's presidency presents Nigeria in Africa a unique opportunity to ensure the implementation of the existing mandate for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals. It is also hoped that the General Assembly under Mohamed Bande will also work to bridge gaps and promote actions that address pressing international issues. Still on the 74th UN General Assembly, in less than 24 hours, the baton of presidency of the United Nations will change hands as the 73rd General Assembly will give way to the 74th. Kebbi State-born Nigeria's permanent representative to United Nations will fly high the Nigerian flag as he assumes office as president. Ceci Egbeli is in New York to witness the historic occasion and profiles the 74th president of the world body, Professor Tijani Mohamed Bande.
Scholar, diplomat, and definitely a statesman, Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Professor Tijani Mohamed Bande, is the maverick of the UN. His antecedents are just as fascinating as some of his precedents. A Bachelor's of Science degree in 1979, a Master's in Political Science in 1981, and a Doctorate in Political Science in 1987 helped mold the man into what he was to become. Professor Bande started his professional career in 1980 as a graduate assistant and rose to become the Vice Chancellor of Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto in 2004. A man with a good head on his shoulder, he was recognized for his sterling leadership qualities and tasked with the leadership of Nigeria's most reputable leadership training, the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. There, he again distinguished himself, facilitating the first ever political parties policy and leadership development center in Africa. As a strategic thinker, a scholar, intellectual, and bridge builder, he was appointed Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations in March 2017, taking over from Professor Joy Ogu, who served in that capacity for 7 years. At this world decision-making body, Nigeria's 61-year-old representative has worked with his colleagues from around the world to proffer solutions to global issues. He has been an active player in several fora and served as Vice President of the 71st Assembly. On Tuesday, June 4, 2019, Mohamed Bande was elected unopposed to head the world body by an acclamation in the General Assembly. He succeeds Ecuador's Maria Fernande Espinosa. Professor Tijani Bande will be the second Nigerian to sit on this exalted seat. The late retired General Joseph Garba chaired the body from 1989 to 1990. In New York, Cecile Egbeli, NTA News.
Now to the judiciary. The governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, says his victory at the State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal clearly attests to the ordination of his mandate by God. He stated this while reacting to the judicial decision in an interview with correspondent Adamu Sambo in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, on the sidelines of the just concluded extraordinary ECOWAS Leaders Summit on counter-terrorism.
My mandate is a divine mandate. Anybody who continues to struggle with it is wasting his time. And I'm glad that the judiciary have been fair, they have been just. I'm glad that they have delivered their judgment meticulously, they have properly articulated it, they have dealt with all the issues, and I believe that this matter has now been put to rest. We can now focus on governance. I'm glad that all what I stood for in terms of good governance, I have started implementing it. All my visions, I've started implementing it in the areas of security, areas of good governance. I promise to be participatory, to be inclusive, to be just, to be fair, to be equitable. I promise to be transparent. I promise that I will be accountable. All that I've started doing. I promise that I will focus on security. I promise that I will focus on infrastructure. I've started doing all that across the state. Let everybody now join hands together so that we can build our future together.
Away from the judiciary, uneven distribution of amenities and development is said to be one of the major causes of civil unrest. Overcoming this challenge, experts say, requires planning, which is in turn relies on proper identification of citizens and data. Using the Nigerian scenario in this special report, Victor Azu attempts to establish the link between national identity, planning and development.
Picture, they say, is worth 1,000 words. The glaring contrast in this picture tells a compelling story. It is the story of the haves and the have-nots. The Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by all United Nations member states, including Nigeria, in 2015. It was a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Goal 16 seeks to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all levels. From the highbrow Banana Island in Lagos to the slums of Kuruduma in the FCT. This explains why Nigeria has joined the Coalition of International Identity Day, which commemorates the Identity Day on September 16 every year as a way of creating awareness.
For government to protect you, for government to give you service, government also wants to know who you are.
President Muhammadu Buhari had directed that a single national identity be created for every Nigerian, with the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI, driving the process. The Director General tells me that nearly 40 million Nigerians have had their biometrics captured and given national identity numbers.
The focus is not on the card, the focus is on the number, and it is the number that is like your name. When the card expires, then you will be given a new card and it will have a different number.
He indicates that the ultimate goal is to get to a point in the country where the national identity number, NIN, will be used and authenticated before provision of social amenities. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
Let's shift our attention to education. The management of Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, is alerting the general public on an illegal scholarship scheme called Vice Grant, operated by a faceless organization through its website, www.vicegrant.com. In a statement by TED Fund, the organization Vice Grant dubiously claims affiliation with TED Fund while operating a bogus 2019-2020 National Online Quiz Test and study grants, targeting students of tertiary institutions and unsuspecting members of the public. TED Fund wishes to state that at no time has it mandated any person, group or entity to act on its behalf in operating such a scheme. Members of the public, particularly students of higher institutions, are hereby warned to disregard this dubious scholarship scheme, as whosoever patronizes Vice Grant does so at their own risk. And the Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, has asked youths in the country to be more creative, versatile, and patriotic towards the nation and socio-economic and political development. He said this in a message to a public lecture organized by Kogi State Law Students Association of Ahmadu Bello University, Zara Chapter. Sagir Mohammed Awal reports.
The public lecture, titled "The Role of Youth in Contemporary Democracy," seeks to enhance the capacity and constructive involvement of youth in participatory democracy. Guest speakers at the forum described youth as the most valuable instrument of change. Hence, it's imperative upon governments to give them the opportunity to serve. They, however, caution the youth not to allow themselves to be used in profiteering violence and other forms of electoral malpractices.
It is very important that we keep examining their rule and give them higher responsibilities and put some consciousness in them.
To encourage our youth to take up some positions in this country, sir.
The Director General Nigerian Television Authority, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, represented by the Zonal Director, NTA Kaduna Network Center, Abdullahi Mukhtar, also charged the youth to redouble their commitment towards ensuring the sustenance of democracy.
What role are they supposed to play as far as politics is concerned in this country? Our youth should be focused.
The students took turns to make contributions. In Zaria, I'm Sagir Muhammad Awal, NTA News.
And the wife of Tort Chief, the 5th Chief Felicia Mbadun Ayatse, has donated educational materials to the 2 IDP camps in Benue State and expressed her commitment to ensuring qualitative education for the children at the camps in the state, with a call to Nigerians to support IDPs. She stated this at the Daudu and Abagana IDP camps. The reports.
The items, which comprise educational materials and sporting kits, were presented by the Kendevisi Foundation, the Totiv Wise Pet Project, which is also her maiden initiative. Chief Felicia Mbadun Ayatse, who said she was at these camps for the assessment of the general learning environment, commended the efforts so far made by the various stakeholders in educating the children at the IDP camps. She said her visit was primarily to examine the situation and take stock of the needs of the children and to support their education. She called for joint support to secure the future of the children at internally displaced persons camps.
Helping us with resources, we'll get more educational materials and bring to the children and see the best way we can help them pursue their education.
The camp commandants at the various camps who expressed satisfaction over the gesture of Mrs. Ayata said they squat under the trees with untrained personnel who volunteered to teach the children under harsh atmosphere, noting that the gesture of Totiv's wife will relieve their hardship.
The major challenge in education in this camp, we have lack of learning materials.
The visit also witnessed a gospel awakening where Pastor Gabriel Senruan charged the IDPs to remain resolute and return to God, who will heal and protect them. Prayers were offered for the safety of the IDPs and healing in the land. In Makudi, Eunice Nilta, NTA News.
Let's now talk disaster management. Fire emergency response is expected to improve considerably with the federal government's renewed commitment to providing prompt response to fire disasters. Doyin Dia, who has been on the train of the Controller General of the Federal Fire Service, reports that the presentation of 2 firefighting trucks to the government of Imo State also marks the official inauguration of Zone J, Zone Center covering Imo and Abia states.
We are watching ball. All of a sudden, fire started, from one of the rooms. So I was surprised. Almost 1 hour. No fire service. We didn't see them.
I don't think we have a working fire department. I don't think so.
Some indigenes of Imo State there sharing their experiences. That narrative is changing as the federal government, in line with its objective of safeguarding lives and property of Nigerians, is expanding its response mechanism for emergency situations across the country.
We want to commend the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a flag off of this infrastructure that will help to reduce the response time in Imo State in case we have any fire emergency.
We are now building confidence in the public, the confidence that they've lost in the service before. To each and every Nigerian should get the telephone number of the nearest fire station to where he or she resides, because that will improve our time of response.
In a related development, the chairman of the Imo State Council of Traditional Rulers, His Majesty Eze Samuel Agunwa, called on Nigerians to take ownership of the facility and support the fire service to achieve the aims and objective of the federal government.
I want to thank His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, who made it possible for the Nigerian Fire Service to acquire this new equipment, these new trucks.
The team is also expected to visit Ondo and Delta State in continuation of the distribution. Dia, NT News.
Now, many believe pilgrimage in religion strengthens the faith and spirituality of believers who desire the experience. To make this year's pilgrimage for Christians a success, the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission has signed an agreement with some air carriers and ground handlers ahead of the next pilgrimage. Ruth Agwele tells us more.
A visit to the Holy Land is one experience most Christians who haven't been there long to have. Not only does it build spiritual faith, but many also embrace the opportunity because they want to touch, feel, and see where Jesus walked and the cities he performed miracles, which has become a yearly routine. To make the next pilgrimage to Jerusalem hitch-free, the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission has signed a contract with air carriers and ground handlers selected to provide services for the pilgrimage exercise.
The Commission wants protection of the Christian faith and the integrity of Nigerians.
And we will do that which is expected from us, and they should also do that which is expected from them. Nigerians deserve the best.
The pilgrims will always receive and get excellence because Nigerians are the best, most loyal believers to the Holy Land, Israel.
It is expected that the pilgrims receive value for their money, as both parties are in high expectation for an effective service delivery in anticipation for the next pilgrimage, which will be flagged off on 17th November 2019. In Abuja, Ruth Agwele, NT News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari warmly felicitates with the government, people of Niger State, the Royal House, friends, associates, and all sons and daughters of Nupe Kingdom as the 8th Nupe Alhaji Yahya Abubakar marks 16 years on the throne and celebrates 67th birthday. In a statement, the President extolled the nobility, maturity, and visionary leadership of the Etsunope as he upholds the historical strong culture and arts of the people while maintaining peace and good neighborliness with other traditional stools and cultures. President Buhari prays that the Almighty God will grant the Etsunope longer life, wisdom, and more peaceful years on the throne. And out to security, as part of the ongoing drive to fight crude oil theft, pipeline vandalism, and bunkering, the Central Naval Command has flagged off a military exercise codenamed Dufiyaye Kekere. The periodic exercise, in line with the Chief of Naval Staff's directive, is aimed at safeguarding the nation's critical oil assets through enhanced patrol and surveillance within the martial domain. The 3 days operation involved fleet maneuvering, communication, and gunnery exercise, all aimed at eradicating martial crime within the command areas of responsibility.
So what we intend to do this time around is to go out and practice our vessels, anti-poaching activities, illegal, unregulated fishing, as well as to go after all those vessels that refuse to switch on their automatic identification systems.
Still on security, walking 10 kilometers at a stretch is no easy feat unless one is an athlete, or it is an aspect of duty as demonstrated by officers and ratings of the Nigerian Navy during their third quarterly routine march in Abuja. Correspondent Najato Tijani reports.
Marching along briskly to the beat of drums and trumpets, these officers in ratings are undertaking a feat of strength and stamina. NTA decides to join.
Panting when I just ran a few meters while they've been walking more than 10 kilometers. drawn out of the race.
Dropping out of the race is, however, not an option for the officers in ratings, as the exercise is a test of endurance and combat readiness. With focus on naval core values of strength and togetherness, the Chief of Naval Staff, in a message delivered by the Chief of Naval Standards and Safety, says the Nigerian Navy will continue to maintain the operational competence.
Capable of confronting security challenges and evolving asymmetric threats.
I walked for only 5 minutes. It felt like 5 hours to me, all in a bid to catch up with personnel of the Nigerian Navy on their 3rd quarterly route march, which the Navy says is aimed at maintaining physical fitness and mental alertness. Medical experts also advocate walking briskly 30 minutes a day for adults at least 3 times a week. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Thank you, Najat. And now to sports. Sports Minister continues inspection of stadia across the country as world record is set in athletics. Let's now join Amanzi Marcus for details on sports updates.
The Minister of Youth and Sports Development,